But you asked the question about pairings for Manchester United. And you go back to the two great pairings that Manchester United have had and the goalkeeper, because I've got to include the goalkeeper in this. That triangle of goalkeeper and two centre-backs are critical to a team that will win the league. Schmeichel, Bruce and Pallister in the Premier League, 125 games, 2.2 points per game, 0.73 goals conceded, 59 clean sheets. And the key one is this. Van der Sar, Ferdinand and Vidic for 5 years, 96 games, 2.2 points per game, so massive points per game, but again, 0.72. So you could look at this in raw data and you could say to yourself, well, they played in great teams, that's why they won more points. Yes, but if you look at Ferdinand and Vidic, they had a midfield in front of them of Scholes, Carrick, Giggs and Ronaldo. There's not really a defender amongst them. And you look at this pair now of Lindelöf and Maguire, 51 games with De Gea, 1.8 points per game. So you could say that's down to the fact they're playing in a weaker team, but they concede a goal a game. And they've got Fred and McTominay in front of them. They've got two defensive midfield players sat right in front of them and they don't move. Sometimes Pogba plays there, sometimes. But the key thing is at the bottom. Only one of the last 20 Premier League champions has conceded one goal per game or more. And that tells you that this three of De Gea, Lindelöf, Maguire, I don't exclude the full-backs from it because they have to come into it. But if you've got that three absolutely spot on, if you think of Alisson and Van Dijk being the final piece of the jigsaw for Liverpool, if you think of Diaz coming in now for City, if you think of Kompany at City, you think of Vidic at Manchester United with Ferdinand, you think of all the teams that have won the league, that triangle of goalkeeper and two centre-backs are solid as a rock. They're dominant. And this three are not dominant. The keeper's not dominant at the moment, even though I thought he did OK yesterday. The two centre-backs, they're not dominant. They concede too many goals, and if you concede one or more goals per game, you're not going to win a Premier League. So Manchester United have to look at that.
Which do you fix first?
The problem is they're not going to turf Maguire out. They've invested £80 million. He's the rock. He's the cornerstone.
Played every minute this season.
Yeah, played every minute. He's the one that they're going to build their defence around. So what you've got to do is find a partner for him. That's got to be somebody. I actually think it's got to be somebody of the physicality and sort of what would be profile of Bailly. Actually, someone who's quick, good in the air, strong, can cover Maguire one-on-one, but also is going to get them up the pitch and allow them to play a little bit higher. And then you've got to think about the goalkeeping situation, and I think the goalkeeping situation is going to need attending to quite quickly too.
Do you agree on the centre-back?
Yeah, he's not a physical presence, Lindelöf. I mean, I said, I think on a Monday Night Football when Spurs played Manchester United about 2 or 3 years ago, and Spurs won 3-0 at Old Trafford, and I actually said that night, this lad's not good enough for this level. And he's actually improved from there. I think he had a really tough start. But you actually look at people. Now, I wasn't the biggest centre-back, really. I'm just on 6 foot, quite a small centre-back. And sometimes it'd be something you would be paranoid about going into a game where you don't think you can maybe... I certainly couldn't compete hugely aerially. That was almost Sammy Hippier's job. But when you see him in that situation, it's funny because as a defender, you always think that you should be obviously marking the striker. But in some ways, when you're not a huge physical presence or huge in the air, you don't want to get pinned. You don't want the striker to mark you. So when you see him then, you're saying about not pushing out. Certainly against really tall strikers, like a Peter Crouch and things like that, it used to be imperative that you pushed out all the time. And you're almost, as a centre-back, for me, it was like trying to stay away from the attack. I know it sounds strange, but it only comes with experience and learning that you don't want to actually near you. So you're either really pushing out or really dropping off. You don't actually want to be pinned by him. But you're saying what you can fix first. You can't fix the centre-back till the summer. The next big thing Man United need to do is they need to sort the goalkeeper out. De Gea, unfortunately, right now is not a goalkeeper to win the league. They have a really good understudy in Henderson. We don't know, is he Manchester United material? If I was in the position now, Manchester United aren't going to win the league, I think they're pretty safe, top 4, the points ahead and you know how good a side they are. If I was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I would at some stage put Henderson in for 10 or 12 games because you need to find out, is this Manchester United's number 1 for next season? If he's not good enough, they need to go and buy a keeper in the summer. So you can't go and buy someone without giving Henderson his head. But without a doubt, they need to get a centre-back who's got a bit more physical presence because you look at Lindelöf and you think you could bully him. That, unfortunately, he's not the biggest. He's
I want to
got
make
no
a point on
presence.
Lindelöf. Lindelöf's problem is Maguire. Maguire's problem is Lindelöf. I think that if you put Lindelöf alongside Van Dijk at Liverpool and he was his partner, I think he's a really good player, Lindelöf, by the way. I think he understands the game. I think he reads the game. I think he's a good defender. I think if he was alongside a Rio Ferdinand or a Van Dijk, I think he'd make a great pair. The problem is he's alongside somebody who isn't the most mobile in Harry Maguire. And I think that's the problem that Lindelöf's got, is that actually they've invested £80 million in Harry Maguire, so they're going to need to put someone alongside him. Because I actually think Lindelöf's a really good player. And if Liverpool were looking for a centre-back pairing, I think he'd do a really good job for Liverpool alongside Van Dijk or alongside a Ferdinand. But the problem is I don't think he does a good job alongside Maguire, because they both just drop back a little bit, and you need someone to get up the pitch. They've got to get up the pitch. They've got more front foot. They've got more aggressive. They've got to step past the striker. They've got to have the nerve. I said it a few weeks ago. They've got to have the nerve to make the stomach churn a little bit, that there's a bit too much space in behind them than they'd ordinarily think there would be. And that's what the best teams have.